All right, guys, today we're going to talk about reflecting while reading. So I want you to take a minute to reflect and think about, what does that word mean to you? If someone asked you to reflect on something, what would you have to do? We often think of a reflection as something that shows up in the water, like in this example, or it reflects back at you in the mirror. And it's kind of the same idea, looking back on yourself or thinking about yourself from afar and really thinking about what you're learning. So today we're going to work on this process here of reflection, reflect, and then learn, and then change. So as we're reading, it's really important. Sometimes we just go through our reading and we just go word after word and we just kind of browse through the text, not really stopping to ever think about what we're actually learning or how our brain is changing as we're reading. So it's really important as an engaged reader to stop and think about, what am I learning? And a lot of this comes with pausing throughout our text, maybe stopping after every paragraph, throwing in a sticky note, saying, here's what I learned. Or in our case, this looks a little more like highlighting. So to pull up our lesson for today, we're going to continue with our theme of the election. And this is a lot of stuff for us to learn as kids, especially, that we might not already know. Today it's going to look a little different though, because yesterday was a nonfiction text and today is a fiction text. Just because it's fictional and the characters are made up doesn't mean it's not based on fact. This is still very true facts. It's facts about voting. It's things that you can learn. And you'll notice a lot of times, especially in historical fiction or realistic fiction, there's still stuff that you can learn even if it's a fictional story. So today, we're going to think about hitting the pause button as we read. We want to recognize as a reader what we're learning and how it's changing us. So at the end of this, we're going to have to write a little reflective piece, and I want to scroll down here. What did Grayson learn? What did you learn? And how can you apply this to your own life? Every story that you read will change you as a person. It might not feel that way, but there might be a new word you gather, a new idea you gather. In some way, it will change you. And it's important to recognize what you took away from that story and what it taught you. And so in this case, Grayson learns about voting, but there's more than just that he learns. And I want you to think about, what can you learn as a person? I would say I like to stop every paragraph or so, but some of these paragraphs are a little short. So maybe just hit the pause button whenever your brain is getting tired or whenever you feel like your brain is full. I might say after every paragraph. If you want, I'll throw some lines in here for you guys. And we'll kind of just use these as our divider, as a pausing point, and say maybe every, I don't know, 10 lines or so. That way it's a good time to stop and reflect. Again, reflect means to think back on and to think how you've learned, what's changed, any new information that you've gathered. So I'm going to read through this with you, and I'm going to do a little modeling. Modeling means I kind of show you my thinking out loud. So I want to go through this, and I'm going to split a few sections off for you guys. And maybe we'll do this every 2 paragraphs or so. It's a little bit longer text, and I feel like if we have to stop every paragraph, it will take forever. And part of reflecting too is knowing that you still have to understand the text. So if it's too choppy and I'm stopping too often, I might not truly understand what I'm reading. But I still want to give my brain a little break. So we'll stop, let's say, 4 times throughout this text. And some will be a little bit longer than others. This is good. All right, so we'll split it up into 4 sections. That way our brain has some time to pause. Oh, I actually got 5. Some time to pause, to think, and reflect. So I'm going to read this to you the first time around, and you're just going to listen. I want you to start, as you listen, to recognize, is there anything new that I've learned? Is there anything that's popping out at me? Is there anything that I could take away from this? Is there anything that surprises me? So really thinking back on your own knowledge and how you could benefit from reading this text. So I'll read it to you and let's just follow along. Hurry and buckle your seatbelt, Grayson's mom said. We've got to get to the polling place before they close. I really want to make sure I get to vote. I am hurrying, Mom, Grayson cried as he tried to get his seatbelt untwisted. What is a polling place, anyways? Grayson's mom started the car and began to pull out of the school's bumpy parking lot. A polling place is where I'm going to cast my vote for the next governor. I also get to vote yes or no about 2 new laws for our state, his mom answered. So I'm going to pause there. There's a lot to process there. Yeah, they're going somewhere in the car. That to me is very familiar. But if I want to reflect on the unknown, going to a polling place, that might be pretty unknown. Casting a vote, a governor, laws for the state, that might all be unknown to me. So I want you to pause this video and go to your assignment really quick. And to highlight something that is new or surprising, that's something you might have learned, reflect on, and maybe for me, this is like, I get a vote yes or no for new laws. Well, that to me is surprising because I always just think about voting for president or maybe voting for governor. Maybe that's something new for you. Maybe you've never heard of that before. So every time I pause, I want you just to pause the video, grab your highlighting tool, and highlight what's new. Reflect on something that you learn. We're going to continue on here. Why is it so important to vote? My teacher said thousands of people are voting today. I don't think it will matter if you don't vote. You're just one person, Grayson said in his grumpiest voice. He was very annoyed he couldn't just go home and play outside with his friend Brandon. Grayson did not want to go sit around a polling place and watch people vote. At the next red light, Grayson's mom turned around and looked at him very seriously. I have voted in every election since I was 18, when I was first allowed to vote. I always want to be sure my opinion is heard by voting. It is an important right given to American citizens. I want to make sure I vote for leaders and laws that will keep us safe and help us to be happy. So that's your pausing point. I want you to reflect on your learning. Think, what did I learn? What surprised me? You can pause this video, go ahead and grab your highlighting tool, and you can highlight more than one sentence in each section. So whatever really you reflect on your own learning, and this is your time. A few minutes later, Grayson and his mom arrived at her assigned polling place. They were voting in the middle school gym close to their house. Cool, Grayson thought. Maybe I can play basketball in the gym while she votes. Grayson's hopes were quickly dashed or taken away as he saw all the people in the gym. There was no room to play at all. What is all this stuff? Grayson asked, pointing to different tables and booths. So again, pause, think, what did you learn? What is Grayson learning maybe? And go ahead and highlight. These are voting booths, his mom answered. They are set up so people can have privacy while they vote. Inside the voting booths are computers. The computers show voters a ballot. A ballot lists all the things you're able to vote for today. Ballots haven't always been on a computer, though. When I first started voting, I circled who I was voting for on a piece of paper. Using computers makes counting votes much quicker. We should know who won the election tonight. And you know what, guys? This is me reflecting right now, realizing that there's a lot to process right in that paragraph, and I need a pause moment. So I'm going to take my little red line and I'm going to give myself a pause because that's a lot to really think about. And part of being a reflective reader is recognizing that stuff in yourself. Recognizing, you know what, this is a point I need to pause. Recognizing, my brain is full and I need to take a quick note of what I learned. So go ahead, take this moment and highlight what's new to you, what you learned, what surprised you, and we'll finish up with these last 2 paragraphs. Grayson looked around as he and his mom moved forward in line. He noticed how many different people were there to vote. People of all ages, races were in the gym. Everyone seemed excited to be able to vote. Grayson walked with his mom to their voting booth and watched as she selected who wanted to win the governor's election. Then she read over the new laws on the ballot and voted yes. When she was finished voting, Grayson and his mom each got stickers. The stickers had the words "I voted" on them in red, white, and blue letters. So take this moment, give your brain a pause, stop, reflect, think back, what's new, what's exciting, and continue on when you're ready. Grayson never felt prouder to wear a sticker before. Even though he was not able to vote yet, he was proud to have been with his mom when she did. Voting is a much bigger deal than I thought, Mom, he said. I can't wait until I'm 18 and can vote. So I'm going to give you one last pause to really think through this. And hopefully this kind of resonates with you as kids. Grayson's going through some learning and some reflecting, and I'm hoping you guys are as well with this. So go ahead, grab a highlight, pick out what stuck out to you, what you learned. Again, you can highlight more than one for each paragraph. If you need to copy and paste more of them, feel free. This is great because you have to reflect on Grayson's learning first. So first you need to think, how did Grayson change from the beginning of the text and the end of the text? Use evidence to support your answer. So this is going to sound something like, Grayson changed from the beginning to the end because. How did he change? And honestly, a lot of ways that Grayson changed probably will change you as a kid too, because you're learning about the voting process just like he is. So I want you to think about how he changed. In the beginning, he was feeling this way, or he didn't know this. By the end, and please make sure you use text evidence. Now, you're going to have to do the same thing as yesterday with your main idea and details. But this is where I really want you to focus, is on this reflection. What did he learn and what did you learn? How can you apply this to your own life? I said respond with at least 5 sentences, hopefully more. What did you learn from this reading? And the biggest thing about being a reflective reader is thinking back. What did you learn? How has your thinking changed? And I hope there's never anything that you ever read where you go, I learned nothing, nothing changed. Well, then we're not really stopping and pausing and focusing and thinking back on it. As we go through this process, we want to realize every text we ever interact with changes us. Our brain moves just a little bit. A few things are changed every time we read something new, even if it is fiction. So this is your turn now to rethink back on, how did I change? What's new? Did I learn something? Or maybe I reheard something I already knew and it proved to me it was true. So I want to give you a second here if you want to go ahead and do that now, because it's all fresh in your brain. So I found a few reflective sentence starters. I wouldn't use these exactly how they're written because this sounds to me more like a movie or a play, but we can take these same ideas and apply it to our own writing. A few of them that really stuck out to me was, I was surprised that. That's a really good reflective thinking. Like, what surprised you? Was it not what you expected? I can't believe. Or it says the scene reminded me, or you could say the part reminded me of something. What did it remind you of? Are you connecting this to your own life? I agree with it or I disagree. That's you responding to your reading. It's you thinking back on it. This is a good one too. Later in the book, I think blank is going to happen. So we don't really have a later in the book, but you could think about later in the election, I think this is going to happen. Later in the day, because it's election day, what do you think was going to happen? Or if I was there, that's really you thinking back on your reading and putting yourself in it. Or in the beginning, it made me think, but now I'm wondering. So these are some really good, if you want to pause this video and use these as you go through your writing. Again, you're not going to use the exact words, but this is just a good way to get you thinking on what you learned and how you can respond to your text today.